TV. And our special guest today is Larry Ceisler with Ceisler Media, a political analyst and expert on Pennsylvania politics who's in Philadelphia. Larry, good to be with you again.
Good to be with you, John.
So let me ask you about why it is taking so long for the counties, Philadelphia and the southeastern Pennsylvania counties, to count the ballot. This is Friday, and we still don't know who won the state auditor general Democratic primary race.
Right. Well, John, I think it's just like anywhere else. This is a whole new system. We've never had mail-in balloting before in Pennsylvania. Now, Allegheny County has done a great job, and they are probably the leaders of it. I mean, I think that they worked with vendors, very well, and we're very ready for this. In southeastern Pennsylvania, you have different companies working with different counties. I mean, there's lots of vendors. And I think that when they saw what was going to happen in this election, the first thing that these counties cared about was, let's get election day out of the way, and then we'll worry about the mail-ins. I think the other thing that may have happened here, John, was they really didn't consider any of the races in the primaries to be very competitive, to be very hot races. I mean, the presidential race didn't mean anything. There weren't real congressional primaries, whatever. So there wasn't going to be any great demand for results. So I think they probably just decided, let's be careful. Now, that being said, John, obviously this has to get better before November. I mean, as we know, in Bucks County, there were problems with the size of the ballots. In Philadelphia, you have 150,000, and they're going through at a slow pace. So what this is, John, this is actually a blessing, because this is a dry run for November.
I will ask you about November in just a second, but let's clarify exactly where we stand right now. It's my understanding there's a whole lot of ballots that have not been counted in southeastern Pennsylvania. What do you understand to be the case, Larry?
Well, from the calls that I've made, it seems as there are approximately, and probably more than a couple 100,000 ballots out there as we sit here today.
Still uncounted.
Still uncounted, but they're trying to make their way through it.
And because this Auditor General's race really features the two top candidates are Michael Lamb from Allegheny County and Nina Ahmed from Philadelphia County, can you tell us anything about what your understanding of how these votes are going at the moment?
Well, I think that what's happened is that Nina Ahmed has gotten about 60% of the vote in Philadelphia and the suburbs. And that's basically based on the fact that she has Philadelphia under her name, and people vote geography in races where they really don't know the candidates. Now, obviously, she did a lot of TV in the last couple of weeks, but probably a lot of these votes were there. I mean, it's just like Michael Lamb even performing better than Ahmed is in Western Pennsylvania and Allegheny County. I think that Michael Lamb was doing about 70%. But there's obviously a lot more votes here to be counted.
So this race is still very much up for grabs.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. But Ahmed's votes are going to come out of here.
And then let me ask you about what this means for November, because as critical as these primaries are for their candidates, the fact is the November election and Pennsylvania's role in picking the next president, nobody wants to wait until Friday to find out if Donald Trump or Joe Biden is the next president. What are the lessons learned? What has to happen here?
Well, the lessons learned is that they're going to have these votes tallied the night of the election. And whether that means starting sooner in counting them. But what we have here is a potential for another national crisis, basically, because I can envision a situation where Pennsylvania is a state that holds the balance. There are votes that are not counted, and Donald Trump will say that they're trying to steal the election in Philadelphia, probably. I mean, This will be a rerun of 1960 with John Kennedy and Mayor Daley, and you're going to have that. And I think it could be very bad. So the good thing about going through all this right now is that these election boards know what they have to do, and they know what is at stake. And I know that the Secretary of State's office in Harrisburg, they know what's at stake. So let's thank goodness that all this happened now, so we were able to have a dry run and learn from our mistakes, learn better practices. And by the way, probably hire Rich Fitzgerald and his crew to say what they did right in Allegheny County.
Well, Larry Ceisler, thank you so much. Rich Fitzgerald will be happy to hear you say that, I'm sure. But thank you very much for spending time with me today. We appreciate your insight.
Always good to be home, John.
Just because the weekend starts doesn't mean our commitment to excellence stops. Wake up to KDKA TV News Saturday and Sunday morning for overnight and